Film is a medium that transports. All I have to do is pop myself in front of the TV to watch a movie, and I can just enjoy it, whatever place the film takes me to.
Movies have always been an escape. It gives you a whole new world to be in.
I have a rekindled love affair with movies.
Welcome everyone to this episode of Reel to Reel Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to get together and talk movies. And joining me, as always, are Susan Chisholm and Paul Britton, the other Reel to Reel Talkers. Team, we are just a few days away from a historic event here in the United States, the inauguration of a new president. And I'm excited because we're going to have a presidential-themed episode. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Yay!
It's time!
4 years overdue!
Wow. Yeah, before we go too far down that rabbit hole.
Nope. That's all I'll do.
I'll just say I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for this episode.
Right, exactly.
I love presidents in movies.
Exactly. It was an episode brought to us by Susan, if I'm not mistaken, and why not talk about presidents in movies? So Susan, if you would, give us a little bit of background as to what made you think about this, and then I'm going to just hand over the reins to you and have you take us through it.
Okay. So we were sitting there talking, kind of brainstorming about what this episode was going to be, and we had a gap in the plans, and it was actually for, I think, next week that we had a gap. And so I said, why don't we, because by the time next week happens, or, the next recording time happens, we're going to have a new president. Why not move the gap, and we can move this episode to next week's recording. We can talk about something that's related to that. And I was just kind of like, out of nowhere, my brain was like, there's a lot of movies with presidents in them, and that would be really relevant right about now. Sure. So that's when I brought it to you guys. I was like, why don't we talk about presidents in movies? And it's in my mind, it wasn't going to be something that was going to be like an in-depth conversation, because really, how far can you go into in-depth about a conversation about fictional president characters, or fictional movies with presidents in them? So I decided, like, why don't we talk about our top 5 presidents in movies, just kind of like to see where everybody, what kind of things pop out to people when they're talking about movies with presidents in them. So that's where that came from.
Really, it's a good analysis of what we think good leadership is and what you would want to look for in a president, because presidents in movies usually do try to be idealized, and to some extent, not always, but to some extent. And yeah. It's always interesting to see kind of what presidents in movie presidents are up to. Who do we think we want to be a president without actually voting for them?
Yeah,
exactly. And what was in my mind was when we were talking about it afterwards and kind of brainstorming which president was going to be which, and the most obvious one, the one that everybody asks whenever you're talking about movie presidents, didn't even come to my mind until after one of you guys were talking about it. I'm going to do so and so. I'm going to do so and so, and I was like, I completely forgot about that one. And you're going to laugh because
yeah. It's funny you say that, Susan, because I was just telling Paul that as I was doing my research, I was surprised at how many. Obviously, there's the element of trying to, each of us trying to come up with a list that, okay, maybe they won't say that one, right? But as I did more research, I realized how many movies with presidents in them, or that are character in them that I haven't seen, and I'm like, oh, okay, so now I had to build a little list over here of movies that I need to check out now. So I'm really curious to see what everybody came up with. So.
Yeah, I am too. So let's get started with it then. I'm gonna just say, in my personal list anyway, they're not in any order of like favorite to least favorite. I'm just kind of gonna go with as they came to my head. But Paul, did you have a different method for picking your list out?
Yeah, no, I honestly, I put mine in order of I want to get to say this person first. So we're
fantastic.
We're gonna start with Dave, the movie Dave, starring Kevin Kline as President Mitchell, but actually his name is Dave Kovic, and he's not actually the president, but he is the president. So I love the movie Dave, and Kevin Kline's portrayal of what would an everyman try to do as president it's just fantastic, because it really feels genuine. It really feels this is the kind of thing that somebody who doesn't understand, or not understand, who isn't beholden to the sort of standard give and take, and who isn't beholden to this is what you're supposed to do as president. This is what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to, sit down and actually try to solve things rather than sit down and try to work within the system. And it's really cool. And I love Dave and that cat.
That's Maya. Maya very rarely makes an appearance on the show. So.
I'm glad she did.
Yeah. So what's funny about that is that that was who I had in mind when the topic came to my mind. Mm-hmm. I was like, I remember that movie Dave with the guy who this is like what you're ever. And that for me that was what popped into my mind that made me think of the topic.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad that I could come up with the genesis of the whole topic, and it really is the best one. I love him.
So yeah, I think that was a really good portrayal too. I'm just gonna say that we've knocked one off my list too. Sergio, I'm gonna take it to you next. What's your first entry onto the presidential list?
Well, my first entry. So I kind of took Paul's approach, but this one that I'm going to start with is because I want to say it, but because of how it came to be on my list. I was literally after our show the last time, I was explaining to Jen what our topic was going to be, and she was like, "Are you going to do so-and-so?" And I'm like, "Who?" And she goes, "You cannot do that topic and not bring up this president." And I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And she told me the movie, and I was like, oh, God. And so, but because she brought it up, and then I saw it and was like, okay, she's right. My first president that I'm going to talk about on my list is President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho from Idiocracy.
Yeah.
Portrayed by one Terry Crews.
Yes.
I love Terry Crews.
When she said it, I had recalled seeing a small bit of the movie. And when in doing so, thought, no, not for me. But she was so insistent, almost to the point of annoyance with me that I wouldn't even consider this. That we sat and watched it. It's like 84 minutes long, and I found myself laughing, going, "This is ridiculous." Mm-hmm. It would have made my it's so bad it's good list. But yeah, and it's just Terry Crews being Terry Crews. It's a ridiculous film. He plays this character at the most ridiculous levels, and for those who don't know the premise of the film, it's 500 years in the future. Everybody's just basically dumb, and he's the president, and the president is just ridiculous. So, and I had to say the whole name once again. Yes. President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho. So President Camacho is my first entry.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
That's for you, Jen.
Well, I mean, thank you for the great contribution, but also especially thanks Jen for the great contribution. Yeah. And I have to admit, I mean, I've been told by multiple people that I need to see that movie, and I have not. So
it is a good one. That gets the Paul stamp of approval.
I'll add it to the list.
There you go. I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to cut down a little bit since since Paul already said one of the ones on my list. So I'm going to go with one on my list. And I think we all kind of had the same idea, was I want to say this one first. So of course I had to use the president out of my favorite movie, President Lindbergh from The Fifth Element, played by Tiny Lister, who, in the movie, it's you can tell it's one of those things where it's like, he's definitely just a figurehead,
right?
And he's the smooth talker, the fast talker, nobody really pays attention to what he actually says. And even in the conversation with Corbin's mom, it was like, president's an idiot. You don't sound like an idiot. So every time I think of anything president, like in a movie thing, he's one of the first ones that comes up to him. I mean, even on my list, when I wrote it down, he was the first one. I was like, so. All right, Paul, who do you have next on your list?
Next, I'm going with President Tom Whitmore from Independence Day, Bill Pullman. And for him, really, it's the speech. I mean, it's the speech. The reason why, he would make any list is just because that speech that he makes, it's not just our Independence Day, it's the world's Independence Day speech. And I mean, come on, it's so cheesy and horrible, and I love it. It's great. It's got to be President Whitmore.
Yeah.
What I think is hilarious is that in talking to people afterwards, like I developed my list. I had kind of a tentative list, and then I was adding and subtracting people as I went along because I was, this one, I like this one better. He never once came to mind until I think y'all were talking about it, and I think Paul, you said I'm gonna do President Whitmore. I was like,
yeah.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, whoops. Oh, so that was me. All right, Sergio, who do you have next on your list?
All right, so next on my list is I'm trying to think of, because again, no basic order. I think I'll go with Morgan Freeman in Deep Impact, President Beck. And he plays he's just Morgan Freeman, as we come to know and love Morgan Freeman in different roles. But I just love that final image as he is delivering this, again, another speech, right, Paul? He's delivering a speech at the end talking about how, they're going to recover and so forth, and the camera pans back and you see the destruction, but also the reconstruction of the country and so forth. And so I really like that movie once it gets rolling. And but for me, Morgan Freeman's President Beck is a memorable president for me. So he's second on my list.
That's awesome. That's a good entry also. I haven't seen that one. I started it, and then, like you said, it kind of takes a minute to get going, and I didn't have the attention span to complete it.
Ain't no Armageddon, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
All right. So the third entry for my list is one that I figured everybody was probably gonna choose, but Michael Douglas in American President Andrew Shepard, and like he's a fantastic actor, and with the portrayals, everything he does, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's definitely fiction, but I really liked how he did, and it was kind of opening the door for the TV series that followed along. But so that's my third entry. Paul, who did you choose next?
Next, I have from Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, Merkin Muffley, portrayed by Peter Sellers. I mean, he's kind of the opposite of everything you would want from a president, and it's fantastic. He's just this, you mentioned in Fifth Element how the president there is just more like a figurehead. Like Merkin Muffley is not even a figurehead. It's just this ineffectual, like just rubber stamp. Like that's just, I mean, he's literally just the personification of bureaucracy, and it's fantastic. But also really funny. Like Peter Sellers, like of all the characters that Peter Sellers plays in that movie, he plays three major characters. He's the funniest to me. Like just really dry and just it's almost like he's like the everyman's voice in the whole thing when he's the president. It's just, I don't know. If you haven't seen Dr. Strangelove, definitely check it out and enjoy the portrayal of Peter Sellers as he views the American president.
I have to say, Paul, I out of respect and deference to you, I kept that one off my list because I was like, surely this will be a Paul one, and so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I haven't seen it, so I think it is actually already on my list. I think I saw your comments toward it were, if I remember correctly, were favorable. So I'm gonna
probably effusive. It's somewhere between effusive and favorable.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Sergio, let's hear from you. What's your third president on your list?
All right, three of my selections were action movies, and so for me, President James Marshall in Air Force One. I think I even said I was going to bring this one up. Harrison Ford's portrayal. It's again, this is popcorn action movie. Gary Oldman as the villain. Harrison Ford as the president. There's not much for him to be presidential about, but there is a whole lot of opportunity for a president to get into the action, and so it's a great action piece, and the final line of where he's like, "Get off my plane," like that's movie magic for this guy.
Yeah.
And so President James Marshall, played by Harrison Ford in Air Force One.
I have not seen that movie in such a long time, so you're gonna make me go back and revisit it now. But again, in preparing for this, I had ideas of people who I wanted. In every single list, almost every single list, he topped. Harrison Ford as president topped every single list of movie presidents. I was like, well, all right then.
I want to see a director's cut of that movie where he actually gets in the little life pod thing, and then the movie ends after 20 minutes. That's the end of the movie.
It's a short
film. They retrieve him, and everyone is
the end. That's it. Movie's over.
That's funny.
So my next entry is somebody that I don't know. I mean, it's possible that one of y'all chose, but I don't think so. Actually, my last two were like that. So one of the movies that I chose was actually a comedy movie with Ben Stiller, A Night at the Museum, where Robin Williams played President Teddy Roosevelt throughout the whole, all the displays coming to life and wreaking havoc on the museum, and poor, Ben Stiller having to collect everything and make it all together. So every time I watch that movie, I crack up, I laugh like anytime he's on screen. As far as silly movies go, that's one of my favorite silly movies.
Awesome. Yeah. I love the over the top portrayal. Like that is fun. It's
ridiculous, but it's also like it's kind of like the Teddy Roosevelt is kind of like the Chuck Norris, but of presidents. So, what is like my coworker loves the Chuck Norrisisms. Like, Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He doesn't push himself up. He pushes the earth down.
Yeah.
Sorry, failed in delivery, but that's okay. All right.
You got it.
Paul, you're up next. What do you got next?
So my last two are going to be portrayals of real presidents, kind of like what you just did. And the first one I will do is from the movie Vice, which is really about Vice President Dick Cheney. But the portrayal of Sam Rockwell as W is just, it just feels like this is probably kind of what he's like just completely just this guy, and that's it. And like he's just this guy who picked the right or wrong people depending on how you view the situation as his team, and here he is and wins 2 terms, just fantastic. And I love Sam Rockwell, so that plays into my selection there.
Nice.
All right, that's I've seen that movie also, and I don't know why I didn't even consider.
Yeah.
I'm
ashamed I missed it. I'm so happy it came. I'm so happy it came up.
That's where I'm at too. Sergio, who's next for you?
All right, next for me, it's a toss-up as to how I want to end my list, but I think I'm going to go with this one. In 2012, there was a little movie called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and I absolutely love that movie. It is, again, ridiculous. Benjamin Walker plays Abraham Lincoln, and it's based on the book, obviously, but it's such a fun film, and it's it's vampires, man, and I love it. And it's just this, Abraham Lincoln, if you haven't seen it, has this sort of backstory of what he did prior to being president. He was a vampire hunter, and I love that movie. And
I love it.
Yeah.
It is definitely, one that I would put on my embarrassed that I love this movie so much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. So,
it's embarrassingly horrible. It really is.
Yeah, Paul had asked me earlier, do you have any real presidents? I'm like, yeah.
Honestly, I have 2 more movies on my list, and one of them was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, depending on how this whole list shook out.
Okay.
So.
Nice.
Well, I'm impressed so far that we've only had the one duplication, and so let's hopefully not break that streak with my last one. I don't think I will.
Okay.
Sergio, I'm not sure if you've seen this movie, but I'm fairly certain Paul has because it's an animated film called Monsters vs. Aliens.
I haven't.
Yes.
President Hathaway is played by one Stephen Colbert, and it is hilarious. It's a good chunk of the movie is just him showboating and kind of also showing off really how inept he is. I don't know. I really liked it. But everything, the entire movie was hilarious. Sergio, I think you should watch that movie, and if you're not careful, it's going to be an assignment.
Yeah, no, I'll have to check it out because just the fact that Stephen Colbert is playing the president is enough for me. So
yeah, Stephen Colbert makes that movie. It's if you take Stephen Colbert as president out of the movie, it's like nah. But Stephen Colbert as president is like yes.
Yeah, I mean, and the cast is great, and it has, oh my God, Seth Rogen in one of the parts, because the main character's name is Susan, and so he's trying to say like he's like, what's your name? She's like, Susan. And he's like, no, like what's your monster name? She goes, Susan. And he goes, Susan. Oh, I kind of scared myself there. That was my text tone on Cullen's phone for a better part of a year. So it never got old. So there you go.
Susan. Yeah, that's good.
All right, Paul.
Versus Aliens. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, well, maybe we get an assignment on that one.
Yeah.
Paul, who's your last entry on this list today?
I think the only way you can follow up Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Colbert is with Abraham Lincoln again. And that is going to be Daniel Day-Lewis in the movie Lincoln. I mean, just the movie is perfection. The portrayal is just might as well be, what we would think Lincoln would have been like. I mean, there's absolutely no way to kind of have an idea of what Lincoln was like, but what you hear about is he was thoughtful, but not overly like Obama was always very thoughtful, but it took a lot to kind of get his sort of fun side out. Whereas the understanding, like the historical references on Lincoln, is that he always had sort of like this just kind of like playful jibe to him, and plays up the aw shucks nature of his persona, and knowing that that was just his persona and it wasn't real at all, and he was actually quite intelligent and quite thoughtful. And just I love it. Daniel Day-Lewis, just if that ends up being his last movie, I get it because it's perfect. Or what? No, I guess he's
had one more. Yeah.
But I mean, his second to last movie, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. I know, Sergio, I've heard you talk about that one a lot.
Yeah, the line in the movie, and I've seen this movie countless times, I am the President of the United States, clothed in immense power. Oh, God, I get a chill every time. Because he's telling his cabinet, we're going to pass this amendment. And, he's just furious because they're naysaying him. And that line gets me every single time. I'm like, yes, you are, Abe.
Oh man! All right, Sergio, why don't you close us out? Who's your last entry today?
Well, so I did have a bit of a struggle, and I do want to mention one president I didn't have on my list, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And that is, and it's a fictional. Well, it actually wasn't even a president, although, yeah, eventually he was. Jack Stanton, played by John Travolta in Primary Colors,
Okay, yeah.
almost made my list.
Okay.
But I decided to lean into the action movie set to make sure that most of my entries weren't going to be duplicated. Um, the movies Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen have Aaron Eckhart, a favorite of mine, a semi-favorite of mine. Uh, President Benjamin Asher. He's the one that is being protected by Gerard Butler as
Right.
his secrets. I almost said Gerard Depardieu. I'm like, no, not that guy. Uh,
Just a little different.
yeah, but again, just popcorn action movies, and he plays the president. He's not overly a victim, but he's in harrowing situations, and plays a president in peril well twice. And so President Benjamin Asher, played by Aaron Eckhart, is my final choice on my list. So.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I mean, aside from the one kind of major duplication, we had a really varying list that went all over the place. So I think this was a pretty good topic. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud of how it turned out.
Yay!
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, and I had fun, kind of talking through it with y'all. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no, indeed. It was a fantastic discussion and a lot of fun to do. So, Susan, thank you so much for taking us through that. Don't forget, folks, you can always enjoy more fun discussions like this in our past episodes, and you can find them all on YouTube. We thank you for joining us here. Also, make sure that you click subscribe if you haven't already, as well as clicking the notification bell so you know when our episodes land week to week. Also, join us on Facebook and on Instagram to follow us and know what we're watching, what we will be talking about in future episodes, and to talk to us. Let us know what you are watching and what you'd like us to talk about in future episodes. Also, on this episode on YouTube, please click that like button. That helps us to stay encouraged and focused on bringing you content week to week here on Real to Real Talk. It's time now for this week's segments, and Paul, I know that you've got one that you're ready to talk about, so let's get to this week's edition of What the Hell Did I Just Watch?
All right, so this week I actually dip back into the horror well again, but I'm not beholden to being in the horror well like I was throughout October, so I can actually pick stuff that I want to see. It's a movie from Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of famed director David Cronenberg. His movie is called, it's a recent release, it's called Possessor. And let me tell you, kids, Possessor is a little messed up. It's not, so it does have the horror tag, but the tags on IMDb are horror, sci-fi, thriller. I actually kind of feel like I would reverse those to thriller, sci-fi, horror, because the horror is okay. So actually, let me just back up a step. So the story here is that a government agency or something, somewhere, somebody, somehow has figured out how to transfer other people's psyche into an actual already living body, so that they can actually control the body and do things as the other person. And obviously, in this case, it's assassinate people. And so it's, I mean, it follows the exploits of sort of like the star agent, if you will, like Agent Voss, and played by Andrea Riceborough. I've never seen her. I don't remember seeing her. Oh, she was the wife in Oblivion. Okay. I actually should have done that earlier. I just figured these were all new people. But so she's just really good at doing what she does, and they set it up really well. The first scene is fantastic. I mean, you see this she's playing she's in the body of a black woman, and she like kills somebody, and then all of a sudden, and then like you have no idea what's going on, and then you see her get shot after killing, doing her, her assassination, and then you're instantly brought in, and like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. This is a person that was actually controlling her, and from there it's just like, okay, now get ready. We've got another job for you, and the next job, and it's real. The movie is really the story about how she starts to lose her grip over during this next job, and how that actually impacts her like feelings towards her family and stuff. Like it's just, I'm telling you, like the first hour is like, oh, okay, this is actually just a good movie. It's not really weird at all. And then it starts getting really freaking weird. Like the concept is pretty like cool and like, oh, okay, this is a really good concept. But then just the psychological duality that they start taking you, the road that they start taking you down is just like, holy crap, this is really messed. It gets, and this is where the horror starts to come in, because it gets really bloody and gross, and basically what ends up happening is the line between her and her psyche and the psyche of the person who she has taken over becomes completely blurred, and you have no idea, like throughout like the third act, who's doing what. Is she doing this? It's like, oh my god, it gets really, really intense, and what the fuckery is going on quite a bit. It's tough. Like the first two acts are fantastic and fun and great, and then the third act is like, wow, this is really fucked up.
And Paul, I think you said it's on Apple TV. Is that correct?
Well, you can rent it anywhere.
Okay, good.
This week, it's you can rent it for $1 through Apple. But it's a rental, so like Amazon Prime, whatever, wherever you rent VOD, you can get it. But this week only, 99 cents on Apple. Actually, it might expire by now, but I got it for 99 cents. But if you like sort of like messed up stuff, psychological thriller type of things, this is like, and you don't mind gore, put it high on your list.
So it sounds like you got more than what you paid for. So.
I got way more. Yeah, it was $1. I was like, okay, it'd been on my list for a while, like for several months. And once it was down to $1, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Let's do it. Yeah, it's time.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So check out Possessor and let us know what you think as Paul continues to bring us movies of the weird every week on the show. So Paul, thank you so much. And we'll look forward to the next one. Which brings us now to discovering what Susan finally saw. Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so this is actually one of the movies that I watched during our winter break, if you will. And I have a feeling I know one of y'all's reactions. I'm not sure yet, though. I watched the 2000 film starring John Cusack, High Fidelity.
Yay!
Nice.
Okay, good. Okay, I was kind of worried about what you were going to think. Paul was like, I don't know what it's going to feel like.
No, I like that one a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, and so we all know my distaste, I guess, for talkie films.
This is one.
This is a very talkie film, but it had moments that were really funny, and it had moments that were really endearing and sweet. So it was kind of like, and they were just evenly spaced to where the talking part would start, and I'd kind of go, and then something would happen. And so then I'd be like, oh, okay. And I'm perked up again. And then something would happen again. But what's weird is when that happens to me, I can maintain and I can hear and keep up with what's going on with the entire movie. And I really enjoyed kind of the story of trying to find out what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, to find out that it just was like wrong place, wrong time. It wasn't him at all, kind of thing. So
it still was probably him.
It's I'm trying to give a pass here now.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah, but that all in all, I think it was a really good movie. I liked it a lot.
And it has Jack Black being peak Jack Black. I mean, absolute apex Jack Blackiness, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, the goofy things he says at some points, I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it really is a fantastic film, and it's one of those moments where I think to myself, what John Cusack could have been, because he's done a ton of films, but he can often be accused of sort of portraying the same person over and over. But this was a tour de force performance on his part, since he basically carried the whole film from a dialogue standpoint. So. All right. Well, I'm glad you knocked that one off your list. I think we even added a few today to your just in our conversation.
I'm moving forward in the wrong direction.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan, once again for sharing with us your movie watching journey here on the show. Right now, I'm going to head into this week's real-time rewind and just give you a quick reminder about films that I think you should get out there and watch if you haven't already, or just remind you that they're out there to see. And this week, I want to talk about a movie called Amadeus. Amadeus is just an absolute favorite of mine. It's a fictional story based on the life, or the latter portion of the life of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. The character of Salieri, which is played by this always happens. I'm like on the verge of talking about something and I forget a person's name, but it's a 1984 film that for me has aged really well. It is quite lengthy. It's about 3 hours long, but F. Murray Abraham just delivers a performance as Salieri that is just memorable as heck. He's sort of the tormentor of Mozart, portrayed by Tom Holtz. And again, it's not for everybody, but it's just one of those films that, for me, the time goes quickly. And so I encourage you to check out Amadeus if you haven't. Just a really wonderful film, and one that I certainly encourage people to watch. So that is this week's Real-Time Rewind. We'll remind you once again, don't forget you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Check us out there to find out what we're watching, what we're going to be talking about in future episodes. And also you can see other past episodes posters, so you know what we've done in the past. Or you can just go straight to YouTube. On YouTube, you can see our entire library of video episodes. And if you go to Podbean, you'll get our entire set of podcasts from the beginning here on Real to Real Talk. So check out past episodes, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you see there. Here on YouTube, please don't forget, click subscribe if you haven't already. Also check out that notification bell. Click it so you know when our episodes land. And please, 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 if you enjoyed the episode, give it a like, and then go enjoy other episodes on our library. So with that, we're going to come now to this week's real quick reviews, and we have a couple of items. But Paul, as always, I like you taking us through this, so let's go ahead and throw it back to you.
All right, so I think we're going to start with. Actually, I think we're only doing one. Aren't we just going to do
that's
one
right.
night? Yeah.
I thought, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna. It's all good. There's doing
so
one.
much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about. However, spoiler alert: we might have two next week. So the one we have for tonight or for today is One Night in Miami on Amazon Prime, and it's a movie about didn't actually happen, but could have happened. Night in Miami after Muhammad Ali beat Sonny Liston to get the world championship belt, and there is a party organized by Ali and his friend Malcolm X, and who the only other two invitees are Jim Brown and Sam Cooke, and it's an adaptation of a play, and there are parts of it like this one. Unlike sort of Ma Rainey's is another one we had done earlier a few weeks ago, where it feels like a play. It's just like it all takes place. This one, parts of it feel like a play, parts of it don't, and you know the parts that were the play, and you know the parts that weren't. But the part, it's really powerful. It's it's about the potential conversation of 4 people, very involved with the movement to bring equality to all Americans, and coming at it from totally different places, and even where they land, totally different places, and how a conversation from those 4 different angles might go, and where it might take a philosophical conversation of this kind, and it's very powerful. It's a little slow in the beginning, I would say. It takes a little while to get you sit there and you want everybody to be on the same page. You just kind of feel like like there's bickering and then as they get on the same, it just becomes like heart-wrenching, and it becomes impactful, and you understand that this is a struggle that it's so frustrating, because it's like this is a struggle that should have been solved decades ago, and here we are, 2021, same old bullshit, and it's just like it's tough. It's tough. Sergio,
it is. This film, I posted immediately after watching it, and all I said was speechless. Don't miss it. One Night in Miami. The Paul has done a great job of establishing its premise and the impact of this film. I want to talk a little bit about the cast, because what a powerful set of actors. Malcolm X, portrayed by Kingsley Ben-Adir, who actually had a turn as President Barack Obama in the Comey Rule just a few months ago. And I remember being struck by his portrayal of Obama and just thinking, what a wonderful actor. And so as I saw that he was going to be playing Malcolm X, I was really, really excited about seeing this film. I was off on Friday from work. I took a day off. And as soon as I could, I started this movie, and I had to finish it last night. But his portrayal of Malcolm X, Leslie Odom Jr. portraying Sam Cooke in an Oscar-worthy performance by Leslie Odom Jr. Eli Gorey playing Cassius Clay, who eventually becomes in the film Cassius X, Muhammad Ali, and Aldis Hodge as Jim Brown. These 4 actors, if people make the time to watch this film, for all of the impact in terms of the social justice and the civil rights movement, everything it talks about, and its content is so important. The thing that I hope people walk away with from this film is the absolute talent of these 4 individuals. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of moment that I go and I start to look at their filmographies, and I'm excited to find other work they've done. Mm-hmm. But I can't say enough about the portrayals by these 4, and just the overall impact of this film is powerful. I think it's an important movie that needs to be seen, and I'm excited that it was finally here. I was looking forward to it all week long, and as soon as I could start it, I did. I can't say enough about One Night in Miami.
Yeah, Leslie Odom in the last 5 minutes is just like, ow, just so...
Yeah. It's of the 4, Sam Cooke is the one that I probably knew the least about, and there I was last night reading all I could get my hands on, and just a wonderful film. I almost don't want to do a taco rating because of the nature of this film, but we're going to. You guys know the drill if you've been with us. It's 5 taco maximum plus guac if you like it. Paul, what would you rate this film under our system?
I'm going 4 with guac.
Okay.
There are parts in the middle that I just kind of feel like they're I don't know. It felt like there was a lull in the middle,
Yes,
and I kind of and sometimes it feels like okay, there's a reason for that lull, but in this case that's why I'm going with the 4 tacos with guac.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I was going to say the same. 4 tacos with guac. There's a point where the conversation becomes a bit repetitive, to the point where you're like, okay, we can move forward. But again, very talky, which I love.
Super duper talky.
And just again, the portrayals were wonderful. So make sure you check out One Night in Miami. One Night in Miami. It is on Amazon Prime and is available now. You will not regret watching this film. Well, again, we have had a presidential episode, and it has been a lot of fun. Susan, thank you for taking us through that segment earlier. Nicely done. We'll look forward to more unique things like this. What are we looking forward to next week? I know we're excited already about our next episode.
We're doing the movie that we saw as a kid that has impacted us.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if we're doing one movie or there are some details we need to sort out, but that is going to be the general theme.
We're going to take a trip back to our childhoods. I've already gotten your kid pictures from your loved ones that I'm going to use on the poster. I'm just kidding. The look on y'all's faces was classic.
Okay, wait. Susan, as a child, is exactly this, just shrunk. Like,
now I'm going to do this. I need to get I need to get baby pictures for this. So, but now we're going to look back to our youth and figure out what movies influenced us, and we'll share them with you next week. Until then, though, we thank you so much for joining us. It has been a fun episode once again. Stay safe out there. You know, we're still in a pandemic, but make sure you wear your mask, wash your hands, and so forth. But more importantly than that, we also just say, man, love each other. Let's just spread the love this week and beyond as a new day dawns. And we'll keep doing movie shows for you guys because we love you guys. So thank you so much for joining us, Paul, Susan, as always. I'll look forward to the next time as we talk movies once again. Indeed. So, to all of you, we leave you with our final messages. We always do, even more heartfelt than before. You're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next time on Real to Real Talk.